Hi, welcome to the Merryweather Knitting Podcast. I'm Gabriella and I'm very happy to have you here with me today to chat about knitting and crafting. Today is actually Christmas Day, which I didn't expect to podcast today, but my baby is sleeping, my husband is sleeping, and I thought I would just sneak away and record a little podcast and chat with you a bit because I feel like there's quite a few things that I wanted to share with you and ponder with you, knitting related and crafting related. Here in Germany, we actually celebrate Christmas on Christmas Eve. So Christmas Eve is the big celebration, the big Christmas dinner when we exchange gifts and kind of have a big celebration. And this year, I think, is a lot smaller than it might usually be. We couldn't, go to church, which is something that I really cherish doing every year. But we did have a lovely Christmas dinner with some family. My parents-in-law came over to our home, and my sister-in-law, and we had dinner together. I made a big Christmas dinner and we exchanged gifts and sang songs and just spent time together and chatted, and it was really a lovely, lovely evening. And it was also my daughter Esmeralda's first Christmas, so it was really special to see her just soak everything in. She did not want to eat any dinner because it was too exciting. Everything was just so exciting. She had all these new little gifts that she got, and it was really a special Christmas celebration, even if it was kind of unusual circumstances, which I'm really thankful for. But I feel like post celebration is always kind of you do so much work to prepare for something like that, and then afterwards it's like a little bit, it's a little bit, it's just over. It feels strange. I feel like, as for me, I could almost fall into a melancholia in a certain way after something like that, but I'm trying not to. I'm trying to be very positive. It's actually, there's a lot to enjoy and to look forward to. And we took today, just for our family, my husband and Esmeralda and I, just to spend time together and, just to be together and relax. And we had a very relaxing day. We just got back from a lovely, lovely walk. It was pretty short because it was really cold outside, and yeah, Esmeralda did not want to be in the cold for very long, but we enjoyed the fresh air, and I feel like it was very refreshing to get some fresh air. For me, it always is anyway. If I'm feeling down, I need to get outside, and even especially if I don't want to go outside, I need to. We are very blessed to live in a place that's close to nature, and I feel like going into the woods, being around, fresh, the fresh air from the trees is really medicine. So I feel very, very blessed and thankful to live somewhere where I can have access to that. Anyway, I digress a bit. I have some knitting to show you, although not much. Since last week, I feel like I haven't done that much knitting, but I have made a little dent on my Spearheads pullover. This is a pattern by Jared Flood. And as I've been knitting this, I just want to say this pattern, I'm just going to jump right into it, is that this pattern is truly so impeccably written, so impeccably made. I just feel like Jared Flood's designs are just really flawless to me. I feel like there's nothing that could be improved on these designs. The short row shaping, the yoke, just everything about it I love. I love the construction. I love the way that it's just designed. I don't know, it's really I don't know how I could explain it, but I feel like it's so pristinely designed. I don't know it's just so clean, so clear, so straightforward. It's really a pleasure to read the pattern and to knit from the pattern. I don't know, I think I love very organic shapes, and I feel like his shapes and his designs follow this kind of, for me, that they have a very geometric kind of feel to them. I don't even mean literally, I also mean figuratively, just the way that they're constructed, the way that its patterns are written. I don't know, but it's really a joy to knit something that's very, I guess another word I would use to describe it is just very architectural. I don't know, but I started on the colorwork yoke. Last time I think I was just joining in the round for the yoke, and I had just to do a few rounds before starting the colorwork, and I have now started the colorwork, which I will show you. I've made a good dent in it. The spearheads are definitely clearly there to be seen. I think I've done 1 or 2 rounds of decreases as well in this yoke, so it's already getting a little bit smaller, and I think I'm actually, the next row I have, or round I have to knit is also a decrease one. So it'll just get, the more the stitches decrease, the quicker it'll go. And I'm very excited to have this sweater finished for my husband to wear. I love, love, love the black and gray. I think it looks so nice. It's kind of like a monochrome, very, nice contrast. Not too high contrast. I like that a little bit of a low contrast coloring. I think that looks really nice, especially with this geometric kind of shape. I think it looks really good. So I'm very happy with it so far. And I last time I had spoken about how I was just, kind of had my fill of plain stockinette. I was ready for something else. I was ready for some interest. And this color work has been so much fun to knit when I knit on it, because I feel like it's given me that kind of variety I was looking for, that interest, but it's still, it's a very short repeat. I think it's only 8 stitches each repeat. So it's still very meditative and not at all like something that takes a ton of concentration, because this last week I also feel like I didn't have the capacity for too much concentration, but I did need some interest, something other than stockinette. Just boring me a bit. So I'm loving knitting this colorwork yoke. It's super simple. I'm going to show you the inside of the colorwork too, but before I do, I just want to say I love seeing when people show the inside of their colorwork. I think it's so cool. It's so beautiful to see that behind the scenes, back of the fabric, beautiful. How it looks behind. I think it's just as beautiful as the front a lot of the time, in a different way, of course. But one thing I love to see is how beautifully pristine and clean and lovely and neat many people's colorwork floats are at the back of their work. And mine are not as neat as many other podcasters. I've done a few colorwork projects, but I'll be honest with you, I am certainly not an expert. I think I'm still a novice, still a newbie, still learning, still practicing, still, perfecting my technique and my tension. So as I show you that, remember that if you're somebody with a lot of colorwork experience, I'm sure you'll have grace and you'll understand, because maybe you also were at a point in your knitting career where your backs were not as perfect. And if you've not yet knit colorwork or are new to it, then you and I, we're like on the same side. You'll get what I mean. But there are the insides. There's the back of my colorwork. I think, it's not terrible or anything, but I definitely have some tension to perfect. And I forget to pick up some of the, sometimes I forget to, wrap the floats on longer rows. I just forget. Like here's a moment where I forgot. So hopefully my husband doesn't snag his finger in there. I think I'm very happy with where I am. I definitely had colorwork projects where the back and front looked much worse tension-wise than this does here. But, I think I actually like looking back at old projects and seeing, where I was then to where I am now, because that's how you really can see how much you've improved or grown or developed in your perfection or in your skill level as a knitter, or just your experience just brings with it. The more garments you knit, the better your tension gets, the more natural it is for you to knit. I think that process never really ends. You can never. It's like never ending. How much you can improve. Not even improve is such a silly term, but how much more you can kind of make things more consistent and kind of just effortlessly consistent. And I love to see that progress, and I love to see that process. And I also think it's important to show the sides of that where I don't yet have that much experience or that much expertise, because, maybe in a few years or a few projects, I'll look back at this and it'll be endearing to me that it's not so perfect. But it's also not so bad. I'm not ashamed of it, So there it is. I'm very happy with this Spearheads pullover, and I can't wait to have it finished. Although, let me be honest with you, I'm a little bit overwhelmed with what I'm going to do next. I have no idea what I'm going to cast on next. I think, if all else fails, I'll cast on a pair of socks for Nick, my husband, but because he's been asking for so long for socks, and I've just put it off. I do not want to knit socks right now. Right now, we're just not in the socks mode or mood, but, if he's asking for it, maybe I'll just cast them on. But I'm really in a pullover and a sweater and a, kind of cardigan mood and mode, and I want to knit another one for myself actually, but I've been doing so much research and so much searching around for patterns and yarn that it's almost like overwhelming. I don't know what to choose. And, you know, if I were to order yarn now, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't get here that quickly. So I've got to find an in-between project. It's kind of a little bit of a limbo that I'm in right now, but, you know, it's a very privileged, very, very first world, very beautiful problem to have, that I don't know which pattern to knit next. There's just so many that I'm excited about. So yeah, we'll see. But I've loved this Lopi, this Alafoss Lopi yarn and this pattern. It's really been so much fun to knit on. So that is actually all I have to show you this week. Hopefully I have more to show you next time. But I thought that today we could chat a little bit about New Year's knitting resolutions, because the New Year is upon us, almost here. It's like, yeah, just a few more days and then we have 2021, and I'm very excited about that. I think many of us are very excited about that, what a new year holds for us, what it symbolizes that we're going to be crossing over into that new year. Yeah, I think it's just an exciting moment to reflect on the last year. And as far as my creative endeavors go, I've been really kind of pondering, what is it that I did last year? What have I been doing that I liked, that I want to continue doing, that I want to improve upon? What did I do that didn't work for me? What did I do or set out to do that just didn't work? And what should I leave behind me? So I thought I'd chat about that with you a little bit. You know, as far as kind of resolutions go, I have in the past set resolutions like knit 12 pairs of socks, knit 3 garments, you know, kind of like number resolutions or goals, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that in some kind of stages of my life that's been an appropriate thing to do or something that was helpful for me. But I just find that now that's very limiting for me. I've really enjoyed this last year, or even just the past few months, having freedom to spontaneously decide what my next project is going to be. And I found that I've really stuck it out and knitted things to completion and really stuck everything out when I've had the freedom to just spontaneously decide near the end of every project what I'm going to knit next, and then to knit it. And I think rather than having like, oh, I have to do another pair of socks, or I have to do another sweater, just to know, okay, what am I in the mood for next, and to do it. And you know, I think I did have a couple things in mind this year that I wanted to knit, but they were more kind of things I had in mind, not things that were like a part of a list or a set of goals. So I think I've learned for me that setting a goal like, you know, a number, this many of this many of that, is for me at this point in my life not something that I want to do, not something that I find helpful for myself. So I had to kind of think about what other kind of resolutions I could make that weren't based on that, because I do like having resolutions and goals, even when it comes to knitting or creative work or hobbies or anything like that. I think even my free time, I like to have goals for my free time, and you know, or even just like kind of like a vision for my free time or a vision for leisure time, because I think right now in the age we live in, it's very easy to just completely waste free time if you don't have something to occupy it, which is intentional in some way. I mean, it is for me at least. I don't want to be, you know, on my phone when I have half an hour or an hour to, you know, chill. I don't want to be like just on my phone or something. I feel like that makes me feel not that great. So I want to know intentionally, when I have an hour, what do I want to do with that hour? I want to make something in that hour, or I want to read something in that hour. Yeah. So anyway, I have 3 resolutions that I've decided upon that are knitting related. And they're all 3 kind of flexible resolutions. One of them is a bit more, or I guess I kind of a bit more like specific than the other 2, but they're all 3 pretty flexible, and they're all 3 ones that I'm really excited about, that I think are going to challenge me and push me. So I'm going to share them with you. The first one I want to do this year, the first goal I have, resolution I have, challenge I want to set for myself this year, is to knit a Japanese pattern. So I want to knit from a Japanese pattern. There are lots of beautiful Japanese patterns that I've seen and been inspired by on Ravelry and on the internet, and I really, really like the unique construction and design elements that I've seen in certain Japanese designs, and I really want to try to knit one. If you're not familiar with this, actually Japanese knitting patterns are written not just in Japanese, but they have kind of like a symbol-based pattern system. So rather than having like, cast on 5 stitches, as we have in English patterns, like it says cast on 5 stitches, and then we know to cast it on. It's not that it's, in Japanese cast on 5 stitches. It's actually symbol based. So if you don't even need to know Japanese. This is what I understand. Maybe if you have more experience, you could let me know. But what I understand is that for most patterns, you don't even need to know Japanese at all. You just know what a symbol says, like cast on or something, for example, you can see. And then basically just by the symbols and like a little bit of translation, you can knit from the pattern if you have a key for the Japanese knitting symbols. I don't hope this is making sense the way I'm explaining it, but like, I don't even know if this is how it works, but what I've understood is, okay, like let's say it says like cast on is so-and-so symbol, you can find a key for the symbols in English, which then explains each one. And if you know the symbols, you can then knit from Japanese patterns without really knowing Japanese. That was a long way to explain it. I hope you understand, but I just want to experiment with that. I want to get a pattern, a Japanese pattern that I think is cool, and I want to try it out. I just want to try it out. It seems like such a interesting, challenging thing to do, and something which I think would be really fun and really interesting. I'm also just fascinated by the idea that we could all meaning everyone from different countries, all of us with different languages, and could knit from the same patterns without having to translate the patterns if we just know the symbolic language, or if, we could all just have a key in our own language and then be able to knit from patterns. I think that's so fascinating and so cool, because there are so many patterns that I want to knit from that are also, not in English sometimes, or there are German patterns that I think are beautiful, but, I can't share with my English speaking friends because they don't know German. So it's really a fascinating and cool idea to have a symbol based, picture based kind of language or pattern system. So that's my first goal, or my first resolution, is to knit from a Japanese pattern, knit a Japanese project. And that's something I'm really excited about. The next kind of resolution I have is one that I share with many, many people I know. I've seen quite a few podcasters who also have this kind of resolution, and I'm sure some of you have also designed already, but I'm really inspired by the idea of designing a knitting pattern and writing the design down and publishing it, because I've designed things before, per se, mostly sock patterns, like little sock patterns. I have my basic sock that I knit, that I've kind of tweaked here and there from different patterns over the years, and then I've just added texture of my own, or from a stitch dictionary, or I've done that in the past, and I've also done that with shawls. I've kind of designed shawls on the go, especially with my hand spun. I think I've never knit a project from a pattern with my hand spun. Every hand spun piece and every hand spun yarn that I've ever made, I've always made my own pattern kind of to knit afterwards, and I just really, really enjoyed that. But I don't know, I feel like I never have really written it down as I've done it, and most of the time when I kind of designed a shawl pattern, I took a basic shawl construction and then I kind of threw some kind of texture I liked on it, some kind of lace to the edge, or I did that kind of thing, and it was a lot of fun, but it wasn't very intentional as far as, what do I want it to look like, from dreaming from the beginning, designing it, really kind of experimenting first with different textures rather than just starting. And I really like the idea of just really designing from scratch a shawl pattern or a different kind of pattern and just releasing it into the world, publishing it. I think that would be something that would be so much fun, and I don't know, would just be something that I want to try out. I've never done it, and I just would like to do that. I think it would be a great challenge for me and a lot of fun. So this year I have the goal of, designing and publishing a knitting pattern. Now that I've told you it's got to happen, because I feel very accountable that I've made that statement. The third resolution I have is another very special resolution, and it's one that I hope you'll join me on if you're interested in this kind of thing. And that is that I want to knit at least one pattern from the Alice Starmore Tudor Roses knitting book. This is a book which I mentioned before in my podcast, and when I mentioned it last, Sophie of the Berke Creations Podcast wrote me, and she was like, I also want to knit from this pattern, from this book, and maybe we could do knit along together. We could both, knit from this book and kind of do a little knit along, a Tudor Roses knit along. And I thought this was such a fun idea. I think it's so cool to do things together like that. I think it's inspiring. It's like kind of keeps you motivated, especially some of those patterns are pretty challenging, I think. So to have other people who are kind of working on that same kind of, on those same designs, on knitting up patterns from those designs together, that would just be something that would be a lot of fun. So I was very excited when she said this and immediately agreed. So this year, Sophie of the Berke Creations Podcast and I are going to be hosting a knit along for the whole year of 2021, a Two to Roses knit along, and I'm really excited about it. I hope that you'll join us and also knit something from the Two to Roses book. If it's ever been something that you've been interested in, if you've ever seen the book and been curious about it, maybe you already have the book or already have yarn for it and you just haven't cast it on, this would be the time to join us this year, 2021, at any point. And just to join in with us. We're really excited about it. And I'm really excited to have Sophie as a new friend of mine that I've made through this amazing knitting community, because she is just so creative and she's got such a beautiful eye for color. And I'm excited to see what she chooses from the book. And I'm really excited to dream of what I'm going to choose. The book hasn't even arrived to me yet. My husband ordered it for me for Christmas through a local bookshop, but they haven't been able to get it yet. And so I didn't even get it yet in time for Christmas, which is okay, but I'm very, very sad. No, I'm not really sad, but I really want to get this book. I really want to look through it. I think it's also one reason why I'm kind of a little stumped on my, what am I going to knit next? Because I was really looking forward to looking through this book and already kind of trying to choose a pattern from it. And, I really want to be able to invest in and treat myself to some Alice Starmore, Virtual Yarns yarn, her yarn, and knit the pattern actually with her yarn. So we'll see if that happens. If, I think that her shop is closed until mid-January. So I know that that's, probably not going to happen, but I'm really, really excited about that project. And yeah, I hope you'll join us in that as well. Anyway, those are my resolutions. I would love to hear what your knitting resolutions are this year, or your crafting resolutions. Not really a resolution, but this year I'm also looking forward to kind of trying out just sew a little bit again. There are a couple of small projects that I would love to sew up, so I am going to try to pull out my sewing machine again and just do those, not holding myself to that 100%, but that's something I have in my mind that I'd love to do. I know that, I want to continue to maybe experiment with natural dyes a little bit, just for fun and for myself. I also think I would love to start to spin more again. There was a phase a while ago where I was just spinning a lot, and I feel like in the past couple of months my spinning mojo has kind of left me, the momentum has gone down, and I would love to just pick up my drop spindle again and start to spin, and just spin quite a bit more and do a hand spun project or two this year. I say it's not a resolution just because I think it's not something that I definitely want to do, but it is something I want to keep in my mind in 2021 and try to integrate into my creative endeavors. That's all I have to share with you, really. I am very excited to now go and knit a little bit and maybe watch a podcast or maybe a Christmas movie this evening. I'm hoping that the rest of your holiday is really, really good and peaceful and full of joy, and that you can find some rest if if it's not very restful where you are, or even in yourself, that, watching videos like this can calm you down, that you have your handwork that you can be calmed by. I feel like for my mental health and for my sanity, knitting and handcrafts are just so vital and so helpful. Each stitch is brings me back to the present moment in a very real way, which I really love and I'm so thankful for. So I'm wishing you a very, very happy new year too. This may be the last time I see you in 2020. And if that is the case, I want to thank you so much also for this time that you've spent with me this year. It's been so special to start this podcast. I'm so glad I did. I feel like I'm already made friends through this. I feel like some of you who have commented a few times, I really am excited when I see your name, and I feel like we have a conversation going, which really means a lot to me. So yeah, I hope that you have a fantastic, fantastic new year. And I look forward to seeing you again in the next podcast. You can find me on Instagram as Merryweather Knitting, and you can find me on Ravelry as gabriellak. So Instagram is Merryweather Knitting, and yeah, Ravelry is gabriellak. I love seeing what you're working on in both of those places, and yeah, it's really, really fun. So thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you again soon. Bye.